Guys, welcome to another video. This video is going to be an in-depth breakdown of how we took Dmitri, a burnt-out gym sales rep who thought his career was always going to be capped at $60,000 a year, $50,000 a year forever, to jumping into the world of digital online sales, making $17,000 a month in under 90 days from the comfort of his own home, all while taking on zero risk and having the same upside and freedom as business owners do. And guys, if you don't know me, my name is Rome, like the city, and I went from working a 9-to-5 job at IBM for several years, climbing up the corporate ladder, to pursuing entrepreneurship and landing a role as a salespreneur. And through these years, I've sold millions of dollars of high-ticket coaching programs for some of the biggest names in the online coaching industry, including guys like Tai Lopez and many others you probably recognize. In the past 4 years of doing this, I've consistently been one of the top performers on every single coach I've sold for. I've managed teams under me and made commissions off of other salespeople selling under my wing. And I've sold for 12 different coaches across multiple industries like e-commerce, real estate, music, marketing, you name it. And I had the opportunity to speak on multiple stages and train high-level remote closing. And no, not the typical shit gurus teach and preach. I've made hundreds of thousands of dollars doing this over the last few years and reached a lifestyle of freedom where I don't need to rely on 9-to-5. I don't need to rely on a big firm. I've achieved a role where my work ethic has a direct correlation of how much money I make. And through this experience, I found my mentor Dylan, who changed everything for me. I met some of my best friends, overcame social anxiety. I went through the most beautiful, most amazing personal development journey in every aspect of my life, developed great relationships, developed great skills, and most importantly, I've had an impact on thousands of people's lives. And in this video, I'm gonna pull back the curtains on the exact systems and strategies that I've learned and implemented, and also helped closers within our company right here apply it to crush their goals and achieve incredible things with remote closing. And guys, if you stick around and watch this whole video through and through, you will quickly realize that most of what these gurus preach is a total lie. And I will give you the truth and the real step-by-step system that has worked for me and many other closers we've trained to see great results and develop real skill, which is the backbone of their success. Now, without further ado, let us dive right in. All right, so how we placed a burnt-out sales rep on an 8-figure offer and got him to $17K a month in under 90 days of starting, without cold calling, being stuck in a physical location, or working more than 4 hours a day. This is the screenshot of Dimitri's back-end invoicing dashboard for his first 4 months of starting with us. And by the way, this is a more recent one, the past 12 months. He's still crushing it. Now, my name is Rome. You guys already know that. And I'm gonna show you guys how we helped Dmitri, who came to us with the goal of earning 6 figures remotely, go from making less than 5K a month to over 17K a month in under 90 days. And guys, if you're somebody who's serious about learning how you can get results like Dmitri, then put away your phone and find a quiet room to sit in and pay close attention. And if you can't dedicate less than an hour to learn how you can double or triple your income and change your life in 90 days, then this success thing probably isn't for you. Now, before we dive in, who is this training even for? If you're looking to make 10 to 30K a month where your earnings are directly tied to the effort and skill you put in, this is for you. If you're an experienced sales rep or a closer struggling to find a quality offer where you don't have to hunt for your own leads, this is for you. And if you feel trapped in your current job or your vehicle and you know you could be making more money if you just had the right opportunity, then this is for you. And if you've been looking into remote closing for a while and you want to start, you want to get into an opportunity and get going, this is for you. Who is this not for? If you're looking for a side hustle, then you're probably not ready to start a serious career, okay? This requires some sort of consistency. If you're not coachable, you're not open to new ways of learning and better ways to sell, then this isn't for you. And if you're looking to get rich overnight without any effort, this is obviously not for you. And if you're uncomfortable dealing with wealthy prospects and large deal sizes, this is not for you. So I'm gonna spare you guys with the BS as to why remote closing is the best way to get started in the online game and it's the best high income skill in the world, blah, blah, blah. You just wanna know the best, fastest path to 10K a month. I know that. Before we get started, here's what you need to understand about modern remote sales. Making 10 to 30K a month within your first 90 to 120 days is 100% possible without cold calling or hunting for your own leads. But the single best determining factor of how much you can make, it's not how good of a sales guy you are. It's not how long you've been selling. It's not even how smooth or charismatic you are on the phones. It is the quality of the offer that you're selling on. Because if you put this guy, Lewis Hamilton, in a Honda Civic in his next race, I'll bet you my life savings he won't beat the lowest ranking driver in Formula One car. Now, with that being said, I have some good news and bad news. The good news is that there are literally thousands of 7- and 8-figure businesses that you probably never heard of that are in desperate need of closers to close their warm leads. And the bad news is that 99% of these businesses aren't even advertised on LinkedIn or Indeed for you to even apply to. Why, you might ask? Because companies in the growth phase, they rely on salespeople to grow their businesses. And they're not willing to risk hiring half-decent sales reps and instead use resources and agencies to staff vetted closers who have significantly higher chances of producing at the desired rates on the first day. All right, now you're probably asking yourself, if it's all about the offer and the offers aren't posted publicly, how on earth am I supposed to get hired on these offers? And or how will an established offer doing multi 7- and 8-figures in revenue trust me with their leads when I have no track record? As I mentioned, there are literally thousands of 7- and 8-figure offers who are in dire need of quality closers to close their warm leads. And if you want to be one of those closers, in this breakdown, I'm going to be going over exactly how to navigate around the concerns mentioned above, how you can start to do this even if you're still working your 9-to-5 job, and how we managed to help Dmitri land an offer and got him to $17K a month plus in commissions in under 90 days, and how you can do all of this without cold calling, hunting for your own leads, or having years of experience under your belt, although it might help. Now, you might be asking, who am I to be telling you all this? Well, years before I became Rome the closer, I was Rome the loser. In all seriousness, if you knew me 10 years ago, I am the last person you would have expected to get into sales. I was shy, I was awkward, and to top it all off, I didn't speak a word of English when I first came back to Canada at the age of 18. As you guys can see, I'm still trying to work on it. But deep down inside, I always knew I wanted to do sales because I knew that it had the highest earning potential out of all the other careers. Plus, if I learned it, I would finally get my way with life more. The problem was I was afraid to talk to people. So I went to university, basically followed through my dad's footsteps, graduated with a Bachelor of Engineering from Carleton University in Canada, and I got my first job as a network engineer at IBM for a few years. This is me being a goof. But needless to say, it sucked. I made the same amount of money no matter how hard I worked. Every single day it felt like the same old routine. I got tired of the corporate vibe, years of commuting, pointless all-hands meetings, getting micromanaged, and how fake everybody was around senior management. And for years, I was doing the same exact thing, day in and day out, same boring, mundane routine. I took vacations only when my boss let me, and this is actually the first vacation I took from my job with my family. I actually flew everybody in from Kuwait, because that's where we were from, and because that's where we were living, and all expenses paid. I wanted to show them that their son is now a man and he can take care of them, and I did for the vacation, only to get stuck with a credit card bill after the fact that had me dwelling on how I'm gonna pay it back for weeks. And even though the thought of buying myself a house for my future family was so far out of reach, it would literally feel like a pipe dream. Big picture, I sold myself on the dream my parents had for me, but the reality was quite literally a nightmare. And I was nowhere near the future I wanted to be. And as one would, I tried e-commerce, I tried drop shipping, Amazon FBA, even trading stocks, shitcoins, but nothing worked. And fast forward a couple years, I met my first sales mentor, and one thing led to another. And not to get too deep into it, but my first role was a great learning experience, but I had to buy my own leads, and those leads were colder than my ex's heart. One thing led to the next, and after months of struggling with this role, I met my next mentor and now business partner, Dylan, in early 2020. And what Dylan told me when I met him after he trained me for a few weeks made my jaw hit the floor. He's like, I have an opportunity for you to close for Tai Lopez. And I'm like, what the heck? Like Tai Lopez, like the knowledge guy, like the Lamborghini marketing guy? And I just bought his course not too long ago. So he's like, do you know the 10-step framework? Which I'm gonna show you guys in a second here. He's like, do you know this? Do you know that? I'm like, yes, I do. I'm ready. He's like, okay, you're starting tomorrow. And literally the first day, the first lead I spoke to, I managed to close them for a $997. And on the same day, I closed like five other deals. And within 3 months of closing for Tai Lopez, I was already at $43,000 in commissions. And that's the power of closing for somebody who's reputable, who already has authority in this space. And these are some of the screenshots of my checks. And this is how my calendar was when I was with Tai Lopez. It was literally back to back. And oh, this is actually the start of my journey. This is a screenshot of the back end of my invoicing dashboard, how it all started. So for the next 3 years, we scaled Tai Lopez's high-ticket sales team to $2 million a month. He actually flew in this very office right here to come see us. And now, after taking this opportunity as far as I could, I stepped into a leadership role after leadership role, started closing on multiple offers with multiple coaches. One thing led to another. And that's when I joined my mentor Dylan as a business partner to help him grow his sales agency, where we trained and placed sales reps in opportunities just like the one I had. This is me and the beautiful man, Dylan Blues. Now, at this point, our reputation for scaling sales teams and developing top-tier sales talent was unquestionable. We quickly became the go-to agency for any coach or offer that needed high-performing closers. Fast forward to summer 2022, we had reached a point where we had more coaches asking for closers than we had closers to place with coaches. And the term high-ticket closer, remote closer was popping up all over the place with ambitious, hopeful people running ads and making big income claims. And almost none of these gurus, none of these people had any track record training and placing successful closers. And those income claims that they made are beyond possible. But at the end of the day, the only way to make serious income as a closer, guys, is to sell for an established, validated offer. Okay, the moment that you're placed with a reputable high-ticket offer with warm, qualified leads scheduled in every day into your calendar, making less than 6 figures a year is legitimately impossible. In any typical sales role, by the way, and for most of you sales guys who are watching this right now, you already know this. 99% of the leads you speak with want nothing to do with you. Just having a conversation with a lead is difficult. And the reason why high-ticket info product sales is so lucrative is because you spend 100% of your day speaking with warm, qualified leads who want to change their life. And leads go through a qualification process before they even speak with you in the first place. And any coach or business you will sell for already has a massive brand with hundreds of thousands of followers, if not millions. Any lead you speak with would have already made an investment of $100 to $500 on an upfront course, giving them massive value. After, they will ask to hear more about your high-ticket offer when they book a call with you. The key to closing 5, 10, 25K deals consistently is being the hunted, not the hunter. And these deals will almost always be one-call closes, by the way. However, great placement opportunities are few and far between due to the fact that the market is filled with untrained closers spamming DMs to these coaches. Because guys, you need to understand this. Imagine you were a coach, and guys, this is really important. So listen, imagine if you're a coach who was skilled in a particular niche that you started teaching people on how to achieve the results you've seen. Imagine you've spent years building your personal brand, you've paid employees, you've built systems, you spend thousands of dollars a day on ads. You would have very high expectations from your closers. This is why we have so many coaches and offers reaching out to us. Rather than taking a gamble on a stranger, 10 out of 10 times, these coaches will come to an agency like mine that has a 10-year track record for delivering high-performing closers. And one of the most important things I learned selling on these opportunities and also seeing other people around me selling on these opportunities, on these offers, was that there are 2 things that are more important than anything else in the space. And one, you already know, is the quality of the offer and the business that you're selling for. And second, I realized that the old school way of selling was dead. All right, reading off a script with high-pressured sales tactics no longer worked, nor was it ethical by any means. Instead, we focused on using a psychology-based framework, one that was easy to remember and use, and most importantly, was empowering individuals to take action rather than pressuring them. This framework turns sales calls conversational rather than a tug of war, allowing you to close predictably and consistently, enjoy selling without the prospect feeling like they're being sold to. And after a couple of years of putting these theories to test, the results were insane. Like And nearly every single closer we trained in place was able to actually enjoy selling while making a rewarding income within 2 to 3 months by following our exact process. And now, after seeing how powerful this process was for myself and other closers on my team, we actually decided to implement it into our training within our sales agency, which sells for the biggest online coaches in the world. And the results we saw both internally and within our sales training company were pretty insane. And not to show off, guys, but this is what's actually possible in a short amount of time, all right? These are regular people who had 9 to 5s. Yes, some were in sales, some weren't, some were in university, but everybody here took action and saw results within a few months, which is insane. Now, in this video, I will share with you guys how Dmitri went from selling gym memberships, making $4,000 a month, burnt out, selling a slimy membership that he didn't even believe in, to selling for world-renowned coaches, selling incredibly transformational programs, and in turn, making 6 figures, over 6 figures in his first year, and scaling even further in his second. In late October 2022, Dmitri got in touch with us and explained his current situation of being burnt out at the sales position that he currently was working at. And he had been looking to become a remote closer for months and needed help. So we decided to work together. He quickly realized that everything he thought he knew about sales was wrong and arguably unethical. And when he switched his mindset to putting his prospects first and selling in a conversational manner, his life changed pretty drastically. We spent the next few weeks training him and getting him up to standard for an 8-figure established offer, and within 3 weeks, we placed him on his dream offer. Our millionaire closer framework that we helped Dmitri implement worked so well that within the first 4 months of being placed, he closed over $490,000 in sales, earning himself over $49,000 in total commissions, guys. Dmitri now makes multiple 6 figures. He travels with our team, speaks at our sales training events, and frankly, makes more than most 30-year-olds can fathom. This is the handsome stud over here, and this is some of our mastermind events that we do every couple months. Now, by the way, guys, if at any time you want to book a call with me to see how we can help you like we did with Dmitri and others on a higher intimacy level, there's a link in my description below this video. Now, we decided to break it down all for you, okay? In the following steps, we'll outline the entire process, A through Z, of what we did to accomplish these results. And we want to put this out there so you guys can use our playbook to start your career as a remote closer and make at least 10 to 20 grand in the next 90 days. Now, here are the specific stages that we took Dmitri through in order to get him there. And guys, if you follow these exact steps, these exact stepping stones, it is impossible not to have a wildly successful career as a closer in 2024 and beyond. All right, so training, landing an offer, and continued growth. All right, so for training, I'll show you guys how we help Dmitri master the sales conversation quickly, and how we completely reshaped Dmitri's old beliefs around sales, breaking down all his old negative beliefs and habits and replacing them with the right ones. And I'll walk you guys through the exact sales framework that we taught Dmitri that I still use to this very day, so that if you were to hop off this video and hop onto a sales call tomorrow, you would instantly have a higher chance of closing. And I'm going to show you guys how we prepared him with the skill and the hands-on support so that he could go straight into his first offer as if he had already closed hundreds of high-ticket deals before. And I'll give you guys full transparency on how we started him on a top-tier high-ticket offer within just a few months of closing. And I will show you guys how we actually took him from making $6K in his first month to $17K a month by paying close attention to his growth and working on his weaknesses. Now, guys, when you begin to zoom out on the journey and understand your priorities in each stage, mastering high-ticket closing becomes a game of repetition, not constantly struggling trying to figure out what your next move should be. Now, guys, let's get into it. Let's get into how we optimize each stage of the process for Dmitri so that he could go from breaking out of his 9-to-5 job to being on track to making multi-6 figures in commissions his first year. Keep in mind, Dmitri burnt the boats. He already quit, by the way. So training. Before Dmitri came to us, he was butting heads against the wall trying to close low-ticket memberships at a gym that he was at for 4 years. He didn't believe in what he was selling because it was financially focused on closing deals, regardless of the interests of the clients. He had little to no way of increasing his income. And he knew he was good and he had potential, but he wasn't in the right vehicle to fully utilize his potential, no matter how hard he worked. Plus, he was forced to use a script and outdated and unethical tactics to try to close these people as members, regardless of their health goals. Now, Dmitri was by no means lazy or unintelligent, guys. He was simply trapped without his knowledge, trying to increase his income with a low-quality opportunity using a low-quality toolbox. The real problem was that no one in his surroundings was able to tell him that he was wasting time and effort. In fact, he spent a whole 4 years at his gym until he finally realized that he was stuck and that there was a lot more opportunity for greater potential. And that's when he decided to seek us out. Which brings me to my next point. One of the most common problems I see with new closers, especially those who've worked in some type of traditional sales role before, is that they have no idea how sales works in the 21st century. Most people still think that sales is about pushing your prospect into a corner until they buy out of fear or stress. But now, with years of experience and millions of dollars of closed deals under my belt, I can say with full confidence that this is the exact opposite of what you should be doing if you want to actually close deals and stay in this game long term, guys. And here's why this approach no longer works. If you try to use transactional, high-pressured sales tactics in this day and age of social media and the internet, you or the business that you're closing for aren't going to be around for long, since you're probably going to get hammered with refunds, chargebacks, and terrible reviews. Instead, true selling is about understanding buyer psychology at a deep level and being able to actually help your prospects overcome their limiting beliefs, both internal and external. And not only during the sales call, before and after. It's about making the prospect come to their own conclusion that they need to buy rather than cornering them into a decision that they will regret. Unfortunately, this is what Dmitri came to us with when he had left his sales job at the gym. He spent 4 years using his old sales process, which felt more like a rehearsed script than it was actually trying to have a conversation that would help the prospect. And while having a cookie-cutter script was easier to learn at first, he realized it made it much harder to actually close deals, since there was basically no room in his script to account for the personal needs and concerns of each prospect. So he had to play the numbers game. And what happens when you do that? This leads to countless burnt leads and hours of wasted follow-ups, tons of rejections, and low commission checks. Now you might be thinking, doesn't having a word-for-word script make it easier to say the right things when I'm selling? Well, if you're talking to a wall, yes. But real sales is about listening to others, not speaking. And in fact, I say this to every single person I train. A good closer should never be speaking more than 20% of the time on sales calls. Exactly. So you have to be yapping, and try to convince them. Literally 20% of the time, asking good questions, leading them to the conclusion that they need this. Because think about it. If our goal is to be a consultant and help our prospects, then we actually need to know what their problem is first. And the only way that we're able to present a solution that's exactly what they're looking for is by actively listening and allowing them to open up during our call. And guess what? If your prospects don't feel like your solution is actually going to solve their specific problem, they're not going to buy from you. And this is what I see going on every single day in the high-ticket sales space. You have these people who call themselves closers, who are really just monkeys reading off a script. And in Dmitri's case, he was forced to treat his prospects like crap. He felt like crap, and as a result, his self-confidence and his bank account were also crap. So what we did was we crafted a brand new sales structure for him using our Millionaire Closer framework, which is a blueprint we fine-tuned from thousands of sales calls and hundreds of trained and placed sales reps. We told him to scrap everything he knew, and we taught him real buyer psychology, effective communication techniques, and a whole new strategic approach to selling. Now, at first, this wasn't an easy transition. We were undoing years of damage here. We had to teach him that high-ticket sales was really more of a consultation rather than a win or lose interaction. And that it was more about building relationships with the prospect rather than just trying to extract as much as possible out of them on the call. And as a result, he was able to build the confidence that he lost from his previous job, and not just in himself, but in sales as a whole. Like, he showed up to calls with a totally different energy, more assertiveness. And most importantly, he was able to overcome his fear of selling, which enabled him to go 100% on his training, because he knew that he was selling in a way that he was actually proud of. But this wasn't just a fluffy, feel-good mindset thing. Once he learned the fundamentals of our framework, he was now ready to put in the reps and actually learn to execute the framework to close deals. And so, as promised, guys, I'm going to show you the exact sales structure we taught Dmitri, the same sales structure that we use to train our internal sales team on, the same one I use till this day, which allowed him to close over $390,000 in deals in just the first few months. It's crazy. All right, so this is the new sales structure, the 10-step framework. By the way, guys, this is a summarized version. If you want the fully detailed one with all the questions and the nuance, you can find it in my sales training course in the description below. It is completely free. Plus, there's real recorded sales calls, so you can actually see how this framework is put into action on real sales calls. Without further ado, let us dive in. So it is consistent of 10 steps, obviously. Intro, agenda, situational, vision, challenge, consequential, showing the gap, gauging commitment, self-solution selling, presenting, and closing. So introduction. This is where you got to make a great first impression, high energy, high enthusiasm and confidence, because you are trying to be the exact opposite of what a regular salesperson might sound like, right? So be yourself, be charismatic, be human. So you need to break the ice so that you can drop your prospect's guard and have them more receptive to future questions. 2, agenda. This is where you take control of the conversation. This is where you let them know. You explain the reason of the call and you establish a strong authority frame by explaining to the prospect that you're going to ask them a few questions to see if or how you can help them. And if you can, you'll show them how. And if not, you point them to the right direction to the best of your knowledge. You're showing them transparency, you're being authentic, and you're telling them exactly what's going to happen on the call. Situational. This is the discovery phase. We're getting to know the prospect. We start with broad, open-ended questions, and we ask questions to have the prospect expand on pain points and challenges they bring up. In this stage, the goal is to have the prospect speak about what's top of their mind, and for us to listen and analyze their buyer type, which we will get to in a second, and their personality, their tonality, and anything else that's relevant to the sale, right? So really getting to know them. What do they do for work, for business? What are their pain points? Why are they really on the call, right? Vision. Once the pains are established, ask broad vision questions to understand what outcome the prospect wants. From here, you connect that broader vision to a monthly or yearly profit goal to create an emotional connection to the outcome. And I'll give you guys a pro tip here. So you always want to understand what their goal is and why is it so important for them, right? If they say, I want financial freedom, that's too vague. Understand, what does financial freedom actually mean to them? And once you find that out, ask them why is that so important to them, and watch how their tonality changes and they open up on their true desires. Challenge. So this is where we understand why the prospects have taken action, right? Because so far, we understand where they are and where they want to be. And now we want to understand what's actually been holding them back, right? Why haven't they taken action already? What's been stopping them from seeing results? And this stage is important because it will usually show you guys future objections that might come up, right? It will give the prospect, and this is where we need to give the prospect value or a perspective shift to prevent objections from happening later. I'll give you guys a quick example. For example, if they said time was holding them back, you would say, gotcha, okay, I completely understand. We all get busy. Hey, listen, are you actually at a point in your life where you're ready to put in the time? Because this is going to require time. And once they say yes, it is no longer going to be an objection. Step 6, consequential. This is where we build urgency in the prospect's minds by them understanding the consequences of not taking action. And this motivates our prospects even more to make a change now. And you want to say something like this, hey, Mr. Prospect, what happens if you don't make a change and continue doing what you're doing right now? Step 7, showing the gap. This is one of the most important things we do as salespeople, is make our prospects feel heard. Right? And closing in sales is all it really is filling the gap successfully. Filling the gap means showing them how our product or service will help them get them to their goals, right? And the gap is where the prospect is, step 3, where they want to be, step 4, and why haven't they gotten there yet? Now, before we close that gap, and we do that in our presentation, but before we do that, we need to explain the prospect's unique gap back to them, to clarify and show a high level understanding of their pains and their goals. And then they're gonna be like, wow, this person really understands me. And that's what we want. 8, gauge commitment. Make sure your prospect is ready, able, and willing to do what's necessary to get them to their vision. And these questions can be related to time commitment, willingness to learn, willingness to get uncomfortable, and a decision to change. Self-solution selling. This is a really cool one. This is where you ask your prospects exactly what they think they would need from you in order for them to see success. So you need to understand their learning style and the resolutions to the challenges that they brought up in step 5. And you really need to take note of keywords, okay? So you'd ask them, hey, Mr. Prospect, what do you feel like you would need from us in order for you to feel confident in achieving your goals? And then they would start to list what they need. And make sure you write down everything that they need so that you tie that into your pitch. This is gold, guys. All right, step 10, presenting and closing. So this is where you explain to your prospect that you believe that they are a great fit, and you ask if they would like to hear more about your program and how it works. And this is where you would give them a brief 2 to 3 minute breakdown of your program, no longer than that, short and sweet, and tailor it to the information that you got from step 9, all right? And emphasize the journey that the prospect will go through from start to finish using our program and achieving their vision in step 4, okay? Because guys, like a confused mind doesn't buy. So it needs to be very clear for them what's gonna happen from start to finish, okay? And then drop the price tag with confidence and assume the sale by asking them, hey, Mr. Prospect, do you have any questions before we go ahead and get started? So you assume the sale. Obviously, guys, this is a summarization of the exact wording and nuance, but you get the idea. If you guys want the full detailed one with all the nuance, grab it in my sales training. It is free, it's below, and no, don't worry, I'm not gonna upsell you into anything. Previously, Dmitri was doing his sales meeting with no true structure and intention, and his close rate was suffering greatly from it. The second we applied the structure and gave the calls more intention as to how they were being run, his close rate began to climb and climb until recently, where his close rate is above a 50% close rate for qualified leads. However, even with this new sales structure, we're only halfway there, guys. Okay, just because you know what a sales call looks like, that doesn't mean you'll be able to perform when the time comes. This is why I called most self-proclaimed closers script reading monkeys. Because they think that they can just take a script, walk into a sales call, and just start closing deals without any practice. What really happens is that they enter the arena and they get absolutely destroyed by objections and a lack of trust from prospects. And they end up burning leads, losing deals and commissions, getting fired, and even destroying their confidence. Instead, as a closer, you need to train like a professional athlete. Once you learn the skill, you need to practice them over and over again in drills and practice games. And ideally, you do this until you get so good that closing becomes second nature for you. Now, I didn't mention this before. Well, I kind of did, but before Dmitri came to us, he actually put in his 2 weeks before he even started closing deals. And since his goal was to make 100K in his first year and make sure that he would never go back to his old job, we made sure that he was training like a pro from day one. So as part of this training, we paired up Dmitri with some of our closers who could act like real prospects and had them role play for at least 1 hour a day. And this is actually me role playing with my team here. We do this every morning. So he role played every single possible buyer type and objection to make sure he was confident on day one of his placement. In this way, the trial and error has already happened with nothing on the line. I'm not gonna go too deep into buyer psychology, but this is important for you guys to know. There are 4 types of buyers to understand. Every single lead is motivated by a pain or pleasure, and they are moving to the solution fast, or they have limiting beliefs or defense mechanisms that cause them to move slow. In other words, your buyer will be moving towards a goal or moving away from a pain, and fast-paced or slow-paced. Now, as a closer, identifying and adjusting your sales conversation to the direction and pace of your buyer is vital to closing the deal. Because if the prospect is moving away from pain, the closer will let the prospect sit on that pain during situational-based questions. It's not that we want to see them in pain, but we want them to realize why they're actually on the call. And if the prospect is moving towards a pleasure, the closer will ask questions during vision to better understand why achieving more is so important. And with a slow-paced buyer, the closer will raise their belief level and spend a little bit more time building rapport and building a relationship with them. With a fast-paced buyer, these guys know exactly what they want. And so the closer will move quicker through the sales conversation while still maintaining control of the call. The subtle changes in approach is a difference between closing or not. And by the way, guys, if you want more nuance on this, more actual real life examples, how to actually handle different types of buyers, again, there's a lot in my free sales training course below. Now, back to the framework. Using this framework, Dmitri, in the beginning, he had a 20% closing rate in his very first month as a closer. And this quickly climbed 2 to 3 months once he actually got used to the offer and worked on his weaknesses, which we'll touch on in a second. And as a result, he was not only able to quickly replace his old income, but he was making 3 times more than what he was earning working at the gym within just a matter of months. So landing an offer. Now, in case you've forgotten what I said in the beginning of this video, if there's anything I want you to take away from today, it's this. No amount of skill, salesmanship, or hard work will help you make the money that you want if you're on a bad offer. Or as Warren Buffett would say, it doesn't matter how hard you row, it is the boat that you are on. It's like if you look at the biggest, fastest, meanest shark in the ocean, place him on dry land and told him to go hunt for food, he'd still end up starving to death. Unless his name is Rome, then he'd be fine. But here's why it's so important to get on a good offer. Closing deals is far easier because people actually want what you're selling. It's less stressful closing a deal for a good offer because you know you'll never run out of warm leads and you don't have to cold call people who don't want anything to do with you in the first place. And as a result of the higher close rates, high lead volume, and high ticket price, you're gonna make a lot more money. And this is the secret to breaking through to multiple 6 figures a year as a closer. So now you're probably wondering, how did we even get Dmitri on an 8-figure offer where he was able to make 6-figure income from basically the moment he started? Well, I'm glad you asked. Before Dmitri came to us, he already tried looking for roles at other companies. And the only offers that would entertain him were ones that were in desperate need to find anyone willing to close their stuff. And that's a clue, there's a reason why these offers don't have closes. And the only way for somebody like Dmitri, who had a lot of potential but no track record, to find a lucrative high ticket offer to sell for was to leverage somebody else's reputation. When we started working together, our number one priority was to connect him with an offer with the following criteria to make sure that he could hit his goal of 10K a month within the next 3 months. High volume of warm qualified leads, great commission structure, usually 10 to 15% on 5 to 25K packages, 6 to 7 figures in monthly high ticket sales, right? They need to be making at least multiple 6 figures a month, if not 7 figures, and A+ systems in delivery. Guys, this is so important. If you want to stay on an offer long-term, you have to make sure that the offer actually delivers on what the prospect is promised. Otherwise, they're going to hit with chargebacks and refunds and you're not going to get paid. This way, Dmitri could just go in and start implementing everything we taught him and start making money. And equally as important was finding a client that was aligned with Dmitri's strengths, his personality, his values, so he could actually build a long-term career closing rather than just settling for some shitty info product that would burn out in 3 to 6 months. Now, the reason we're able to find these types of top-notch offers for our closers is simple. We've done this hundreds of times for some of the biggest high-ticket companies in the world, which means we've already established a reputation for ourselves when it comes to training and placing elite sales reps. So most of the time, these companies with top quality offers are the ones reaching out to us for help to find good closers. But here's the catch to this. Because we have a reputation to live up to when it comes to working with these top level companies, we have to make sure that these sales reps we place can meet that standard. This is also why we aren't just a recruiting company where we pick up random people off the street and throw them into any offer that comes our way. Because the moment we start lowering the quality of people we place, our reputation is at stake. And unlike being a doctor or an engineer, there is no special certification you need to get into sales, which means that our clients are relying on us to ensure that every single closer we train in place will be able to close deals consistently and predictably on day one. Now, obviously, this also applies to Dmitri. Since he was still new to high-ticket closing, we had to make sure that he was given the proper training and support even after we placed him on the offer so he could start performing at the highest level ASAP. In Dmitri's case, he was placed on an e-commerce offer, which was a coaching program teaching small business owners how to scale their online store revenue to 100K a month. The lead quality was top-notch. The positioning of the offer was a no-brainer. Dmitri crushed it right away, earning $6,300 in his first month. Keep this in mind. At this point, Dmitri has left his job, right? He burnt the boats. And his goal was to earn 10K a month between the hours of 10 a.m. to 3 p.m., Monday to Friday. And here's the math for 10K for you guys. On average, Dmitri would get about 10 leads scheduled onto his calendar every single day. And the program Dmitri sold was a 5 to 10K offer on a 10% commission. In order for him to reach his goal, he basically only needed to close one deal a day out of his 10 leads at $5,000 because he gets paid 10% of 5K, which is 500. The month after he made $6,300, we worked on his weak points. The lead quality didn't change. We only worked on his weak points, and he brought in over $13,000 and then over $17,000 in his third month. He literally quintupled his income after 3 months of starting. All right, here's exactly how it went from $6,300 to over 17K. Overcoming lack of authority, mastered the sales pitch, and asking this question that literally doubled his closing rate. By the way, this is by far my favorite question in the entire sales process. So one of the first things that Dmitri still struggled with when he started on the offer was lack of authority with his prospects. He was too friendly, and he would work hard to gain their approval and would often say things that lowered his status on sales calls. But as a closer, it's crucial to come across as an authority, because if a prospect doesn't respect you or believe in your ability to lead them, they'll almost never buy from you. And I'm telling you this for you guys as well. A big part of authority is going to come from your mindset and simply understanding that your prospects are coming to you and looking for help. We are not chasing their business. You need to understand this in your mind. People are booking these calls, buying these programs and courses because they need help. They need your help, not literally yours, but whoever it is that you're selling for. And so naturally, they are coming for help, not from a weak position, because we commend them for looking for help and wanting to grow. But if you think about it from a sales perspective, they're coming to you. So understand that in your mindset and maintain that frame, maintain that composure the entire time. And as for the things that lowered his status, he would say things like, "Thank you for your time." Now, when you say that, that just means that your time is less valuable than theirs. And whenever you preface your question with, "This might be a dumb question, but," or "This might be dumb, but," now you're completely devaluating what you're about to say. Or things like, "I'm sorry I'm late," right? Will lower your status, even if you are late. And sometimes it will happen. Instead of saying, "Sorry I'm late," you can say, "Thank you for waiting. Thanks for your patience." So be selective with your words. Anything that lowers your status, get rid of. Because words like these lower your authority and make you sound like a customer support person rather than a sales executive. So just be very selective and keep this in mind. And another part of not being too friendly is challenging your prospect's belief. A big issue with Dmitri is that he would believe all their limiting beliefs instead of being there for them and slapping them out of it. Because in reality, when you accept your prospect's limiting belief, you're actually letting them down by not changing their perspective. And that's what makes a great salesman. By the way, there's a great book on this. It's called The Challenger Sale. Or if you guys just go on YouTube and watch a synopsis, I think it's very, very valuable. So, mastering the pitch. Another thing we helped Dmitri with, and considerably a very important piece to completing the whole puzzle, was the pitch. Dmitri would nail every single step in the framework up until step 10, and until he got to the pitch. And then he would sound robotic during the pitch because he was saying the same pitch again and again to every single lead he spoke to. So naturally, it sounded very scripted and unnatural, leading to loss of trust from his leads. So we helped him make his pitches unique and tailored to the prospects. Guys, if you remember step 9, self-solution selling in the 10-step framework, that's why it's so important for you guys to take note of keywords and use it in your pitch so that it's tailored and it's different when you pitch every single prospect. Finally, one of the last things Dmitri struggled with was getting slower prospects, right? Slower paced prospects to buy when they showed a lack of urgency. And we solved this problem by simply adding one question to his sales call that would help tap into his prospect's core emotions, put his prospects into an action state where they're ready to buy, and put the entire sales process in hyperdrive. And by the way, guys, like I said, this is one of my favorite questions. In this way, he will be able to create urgency in the call and prevent objections from coming up later in the call. And the question was this: "Hey, Mr. Prospect, you've been telling me you've been struggling with X, Y, and Z, whatever they said in stage 3, and for so long, and that you want to be at a point in your life where you're able to travel and do this and this and that, whatever their vision is." And then you slow down here and you say, "What was that moment that made you realize that you wanted to make a change now. And when you say it like that, this puts your prospects in action state, like I said, where they're just ready to go. And the deal is closed right there, right then, and not with the deliverables, not with the terms or the contract of your offer, but it is closed by the emotions coming up, becoming fresh, and the closer creating the positioning for the offer where these emotions will be absolutely relevant to the decision coming at the end of the call. In other words, the deal is closed by the moment the urgency is introduced into the call. Within weeks, Dmitri started to get faster closes. His closing rate went from 20% to 50% because he knew how to identify different types of buyers and knew exactly how to talk to every single buyer. And pro tip for you guys, most salespeople are broke because they treat every prospect the same. Now, outside of closing, he completely changed the way he communicated. He started to read between the lines when talking to people. He would know how to control conversations. And people who knew him would have a different image of him, like, dude, who are you? And most importantly, I find this is one of the most beautiful things, is that he started to get his way with life more often. And his new innate ability to be more confident and allowed him to be kinder, more generous to people, because now he has the self-respect to know what he is worth because of the undeniable stack of proof to show that he is who he says he is. And of course, his transformation also translated outside of his closing role. Now that he's making six figures, he's been able to move into a nicer neighborhood. He can eat at nice restaurants whenever he wants without worrying about the prices. Debts are paid off, and he can actually enjoy the freedom he's earned for himself. And this all happened under a year, guys. It's insane, right? And by the way, this is a recent chart, and I think I showed this earlier. He's still crushing it. This is a very, very recent chart. This is May. We're recording this in June. And most importantly, he can now work from anywhere around the world while working on his own schedule with far more financial security than he ever had before. And finally, with his new skills and confidence, he's now taken on more responsibilities as a leader, and he's even started to mentor other new reps on his team so that he can elevate his sales career to the next level. By the way, guys, this is a very realistic outlook of how your path would look like if you took the same steps, if you took the same actions. You can choose to stay as a closer and bring in $20,000 a month while you're traveling the world and do whatever it is that you desire. Or you can step into a leadership role where you're managing more reps now and other offers and make a lot more money. But with more money comes more responsibility. All right, to recap, Dmitri was fed up of being overworked and dealing with low ticket, unrewarding leads all day long. We exposed him to a new industry where he could sell high ticket digital programs and make significantly higher commissions that's totally uncapped, and the ability to do this from anywhere around the world on his own terms. And we leveraged our reputation in this space and got Dmitri to sell a high volume, high ticket offer. And during this time, we trained him on simple modern sales techniques so he could predictably and consistently close high ticket deals. And as a result of that, Dmitri hit $300 in his first month, $13K in his second, and $17K in his third. And this was all possible while having zero experience in this industry and only having sold $30 monthly gym memberships prior. So guys, if you're in sales and you feel stuck due to your skill and the vehicle that you are in, or you're already good at talking to people and you want to monetize your communication skills to create a life-changing income and lifestyle, or you're a burnt out entrepreneur or a high performer, tired of not seeing results, and you want to have your efforts translate into the flexibility and freedom you've always wanted, my team and I will help you master the Millionaire Closer framework and find and help you sell for 7 or 8 figure offers and walk you through the exact process and support we gave Dmitri. In fact, we're so confident we can deliver these results to you that if you don't make an extra 20 grand in the next 120 days, you don't pay. So if this sounds like you and you want to crush it in remote sales and get the same level of training, support, and coaching as Dmitri, then go to the link in my description below, book a call with myself for a walkthrough of how our system works. And guys, if it's a good fit, we can talk about how we can work together. In worst case, if it's not a good fit, it's all good, no worries. At least you know what your next steps are. With that being said, I look forward to speaking with you soon. Take care.